Hello, welcome back to All For United WFC. Signing number 4 over the line, Anna Sandberg from BK Hacken over in Sweden. I've got Liberty with me to talk all about it and really hype up this sign. As we do on these player profiles, we get you really excited for the new one. Firstly, Liberty, thank you for coming on. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good, absolutely no worries at all. I'll ask you straight from the off. It's the first question I ask on all of these player profiles in terms of just your initial thoughts on it when you saw this one.
Actually, this is a really, really good signing. She's very underrated, I think, in the league in comparison to some other the Hacken players. But I think it's really, really good business, especially so young and so versatile as well. I think, yeah, this is really, really good business from United.
And a position we need as well. There's been a lot of United fans talking about how we need fullbacks and needed to get one of those on the line, so over the line. So that's something that I think a lot of fans are certainly happy about. You mentioned versatility. That's going to be my next question in terms of where you think her best position is, because we know she's predominantly played as a left back or a wing back and things like that. Where do you kind of see her? We'll talk about her attributes separately, but her best positioning.
Yeah, she predominantly plays at left back for Hacken and has done, but she has also played as an out-and-out winger in a sort of front four. But I think probably her best position and where she looks more comfortable is more attacking. She's a very good left back and very good defender, but she just looks more self-assured in an out-and-out attacking role when she's given that sort of freedom. So I imagine that may be where she goes, but it's not anything to take away from her abilities as an out-and-out left back, because she is very good there as well.
That's something to be interesting. We've seen over the last couple of years, obviously, Anna, when she was at United, was very, she was pretty much on the halfway line when United played a lot. I think only the FA Cup final against Chelsea was the only game she was kind of pulled back a little bit. But in that season, our fullback Anna and Hannah actually on the other side were ridiculously high, and lads would kind of sit back almost and make it a back three. You spoke a little bit about her, I guess, attacking qualities. And what would you say her standout attributes are? Where we've seen a couple of goals and we've tweeted a couple of goals that she's scored as well. What would you say her key attributes to look out for?
She's very pacey. Even when she is at left back, she isn't afraid to get forward. Very, very quick to track back as well, to defend. I mean, yeah, you just mentioned, you've already seen some of the goals. She has a wicked left foot. Like, the amount of power she can get just to send it across the goal is just incredible. I think those are probably her two best. But I also think in terms of when she is being a left back and when she's defending, she has ability to not be sort of toe-to-toe with the attacker, but also like more in front of them, which is kind of a bit of a strange one. She's not playing catch-up. She is kind of one step ahead, and I think that's really, really cool to see from her. It's not something I've necessarily seen a lot. I think that could be really important if she is playing at left back, especially since you just mentioned that United have played before with more attackers further forward, that if she can do that, then I think that'd be really, really key. But yeah, a wicked left foot. And also she can score on the right as well. She's not a one-trick pony, pacey, and also just connects really well with others, has a really good understanding of the entire left side of the pitch, which I think would be really important.
You mentioned a left side in particular. Has she ever played off the right, just out of interest? I know there's a lot of United fans a bit worried about her right-hand side at the moment. I personally don't. I don't think she ever has, but I thought I'd ask the question anyway.
I've never seen her play on the right. I'm not going to lie. I've only ever seen her play amongst the left. But she is very young. She is only 21, so it may be something that she can learn, especially because she is already so versatile in playing anywhere across the left, that maybe she can adapt and play along the right too.
I'm just intrigued on this one. It kind of leads me into my next question in terms of obviously the reported fee for her is high. It looks like it's going to be a record for a Swedish player as well. On that one, you mentioned her age, she's only 21. Do you think United will be paying that kind of money for her to not play as much. We've seen kind of fullbacks come in, and a lot of people are assuming this is just going to be a backup to Hannah on the left-hand side. Obviously, Gabby George is coming back from injury as well. She's also going to feature on the left-hand side. So she's potentially second or third choice is how you would look at it, maybe from the outside. Do you think United will be paying that much for her to be second or third choice left back, or do you think there is a possibility she's been guaranteed at least a certain amount of minutes, potentially a starting spot?
I think so. I think it may be a thing of she has to adapt first off, because unfortunately the WSL and the doubles fence are going to very different leagues, as in times of attacking pace and things like that. But I don't think she'll be coming to United to sit on the bench at all. She gets pretty good minutes at Hacken. They've slightly fallen off in recent weeks, in just before the summer break. So the league's currently not playing. But before then, she had a pretty good start to the season and then was being used as a sub more often for 30 to 20 minutes at the end. But I wonder if that's because they knew she would be leaving eventually. But I don't think she'll be coming to sit and to be back up in case other people need it. I think she will be either getting very good minutes at left back or be playing in one of her other roles as such on the left, because what she can bring is really, really good and really, really strong, and something I think United could really, really use as well.
No, absolutely. It's interesting, actually, because as far as I understand it, this was a deal that's been long in the making. I think United were looking at her for a January potential loan move as well. Obviously, you mentioned the leagues are a little bit out of sync with the leagues over there starting a bit later and obviously finishing a lot earlier. So a winter move would have made more sense with the league finished. Obviously, this is halfway through that season, so I can see why United have paid a big fee. I think it would have taken that. I think she was under contract until 2026. I think. So don't quote me on that, but she was definitely under contract for another year at least. So I can see why United have needed to pay a fee, but I was a little bit shocked when I saw how high it was. And I don't know. I'm just thinking in my head, you don't pay that much for someone to be a backup. I know women's football's growing in terms of the fees. We're seeing big fees all over the place, and that it's only going to get higher and higher as more money comes into the game. But I just think at the moment that's a lot. That's not far off. Kind of looking at what we paid last summer for Jace, for example, in the 300,000. If this fee is above 200,000, it's going to be probably in our top 5 at the very least, potentially top 3 in terms of what we've paid for a player. So I find that interesting. There's definitely some conversations to be had, I think, around that left-hand side. Janssen is another one who people are expecting. I don't think she's coming in to sit on the bench either. So we potentially have got a whole new left side going into next season. I want to come back to the leagues in just a second, but just a thought on, you mentioned her potentially playing a bit further forward in her attacking qualities and things like that. Where do you think she would link up well? Who do you think she will link up well with in that United team? Who at Hacken do you think she linked up well with and can take that into the United setup?
When she was playing at left back, predominantly played in front of her was people like Felicia Schroeder or Monica Basuya. So very young, out-and-out wingers on the left, and she played very well with them, played off of them as well. I think it could be essentially something like that, or if she plays further forward, then she was very, very connective with any of the other 3. So I think it could really be anyone. Less so. She played well with the centre-backs, but that was more in building of play, less so than anything else. Sort of less pace, more just building out from the back, which I think could also really work. But I also think maybe if she is playing further forward, it will be just anyone along the left. She's really, really good at knowing where other people are, what they need from her as well. She's very unselfish and is key in helping others look their best, which I think could be really, really good for United.
Just out of interest, what system were they playing over at Hacken? Obviously, United have been very I say rigid in kind of like a 4. Mark Skinner likes that double pivot in midfield and the 3 across the front. Obviously with Ella Toon sat in front of the 2 midfielders and your traditional back 4. Obviously we don't know how that's going to play out potentially into next season. Is there much difference in how Hacken obviously set up compared to how United set up last season?
Not a lot. It was mainly an out-and-out striker, then the wingers back with the 10, and then a double pivot and then a back 4. Does that maths make sense? Maths isn't my strongest suit, but it was mainly that. And they didn't really deviate from that much. It just depended whether she was at left back or at left winger, between the 2. But yeah, it was mainly that kind of front 4 and then everyone else. So potentially, I just think it depends on if that is what... I think that suits her when she's at a winger. She's very conservative in going forward as a left back when she is being an out-and-out defender, even though she's got pace and skill. She was less likely to kind of bomb forward and then join in an attack. So I think it could depend on something like that, but it wasn't necessarily that the formation wasn't suiting her, because she was very good whether she was playing at left back or left winger in that sort of formation.
No, absolutely. It does sound a little bit similar in terms of those 2 setups. And I just thought, obviously, from the national team side, I do hope, just going back to what we were saying about playing minutes as well, I do hope that she does get minutes. I think she's not long obviously got into that side at Sweden. We've seen players come to United over the last couple of years that have got good international pedigree and just coming into the national team and then don't play for a year and then fall out of that team. So I really hope that doesn't happen to her, with kind of her potential and everything else, because she needs minutes. There's no doubt about that. You mentioned obviously the league that she's come from there. You kind of spoke a little bit about this earlier in terms of the main differences. What do you think she's going to need to work on to adapt? Obviously we know the lifestyle and all those kind of things between Sweden and England and all that kind of thing. But in terms of the league and the quality of football and on the pitch and how teams set up and all that kind of thing, what do you think she needs to adapt most on?
I think the WSL is just faster. Not in terms of the players themselves are faster, but everything just happens quicker. Like, there's not lots of waiting around and kind of thinking out. You have to like move. And I think that's a big difference to the Damallsvenskan, purely because there is this sort of slower, more thinking pace. I think she'll have to adapt to that. She has shown moments when she's under pressure that she can think quick and make very good decisions and accurate passes under pressure. So I don't think it's necessarily going to take long. I just think it needs to happen more often. She is pacey. She is very pacey, and I think she needs to adapt in just not being afraid to get forward and not being afraid to, even if she's at left back, join in an attack. Because she is conservative, and I don't think that's going to help at all to United if she's too conservative, especially if they want her to do that. But yeah, just kind of things like that, just sort of small parts of her game. I think overall she's ready for a move. I think she's a good age. She's only 21. She follows that sort of trend we've seen of the quite young players coming over from the Damallsvenskan to the WSL in the last couple of seasons. I mean, like Charlie Grant, Cooney Cross, Matilda Winberg, things like this. So it's not a surprise, and I think she is ready, but I think she just has little things that she can help and learn at United that she will then be an excellent, excellent player for them.
No, absolutely. And I know from speaking to a few people over in Scandinavia that a lot of the players' dreams is actually to come over and play in England. They do still see English football as kind of not the end destination, but certainly a destination that they want to play at some point in their careers. You spoke a little about, obviously, we spoke about our age and things like that. And I know when I messaged you to speak, obviously, to come on here to speak about this, you were mentioning you were kind of mid or wanting to write a piece on her. So I want to kind of ask you in terms of how high you think her ceiling is. You know, as we mentioned, obviously 21 years old. She's got potential to grow there. How good do you think she? Obviously, potential is hard to I guess predict because we don't know with injuries and game time and all that kind of thing. But if she has a clean run of injuries, a clean run without injuries, and consistent game time, where do you think she can get to?
I think her ceiling is very high. I think, as you mentioned before, she's already with the Swedish national senior team. She's not necessarily starting, but she is with them. She's in squads quite consistently. And I think her ceiling is very high. I think she kind of just needs to find her position and kind of stick to it. I think that's going to be best for her. When we spoke before, I did say she was McCabe-esque. But in terms of, I think, whereas McCabe can, or even Fridolina Rolfo, whereas they can chop and change and be incredible in a variety of different positions, I think because she is so young and she is going to move into a new league, new country and all this, finding a position, making it her own and showing why she's worth it will help her. But I do think, yeah, she'll be with the senior team for many years to come, and will take over from the fullbacks potentially that they already have, because there is absolutely no reason why she can't. I think she's a very, very good defender, a very good attacker as well. And it's just about taking those little last few things and ironing them out.
See, I love it when I ask that question on it, because every time I always get a really good answer that their ceiling is really, really high. So I like that. And I do agree. I think, you know, with her age, I think United probably are looking to the next level. Jade obviously is a younger player as well on the right hand side, and obviously Evie Rabjon, when she recovers from her ACL injury as well, should be another one on the right hand side, I would imagine. My final question then: how would you rate this signing out of 10? You can do this from a player point of view and or from the club's point of view.
I think it's a pretty decent 8.5, maybe even a 9. I think I do think this is a really, really good signing for both United are getting a young, versatile player who they can not mould. That's not really what is happening, but who can help and nurture and grow. Especially since it's her first time outside of her native country. And for her, it's the same. You know, United are a very good squad. She's not stepping down as in terms of club potential and club standings. Hacken are a very, very good team. They have quite consistently Champions League like last season and stuff. So she's not stepping down in terms of her abilities, but she's still going to learn and grow. So I think, yeah, for both sides, it's a 8.5, maybe even a 9.
I like that. That's probably where I put it as well. I think, you know, I hear a lot of good potential things about her as well. So yeah, hopefully she has a good run of games and obviously stays injury free, and we potentially will see that full potential play out. Liberty, thank you so much for joining me to talk all about Anna Sandberg. As we said, confirmed to Manchester United, which is amazing. If people want to follow you, find all your work and stuff like that, where can people do all of that?
It's just my name across everything, just Liberty Simons. Yeah.
There we go. Make sure you're following everything that Liberty covers a wide amount of leagues, which is why we had her on for this one. Make sure you're liking this video and subscribing if you're new around here, and we shall see you guys in the next one.